Okay, so here we are live once again with another G.I. Joe Classified Series unboxing. This is one of the retro card figures, and this is the Snow Serpent. Now, they've done a Snow Serpent figure in the G.I. Joe Classified proper line, besides this later retro card figure. And that was a deluxe figure who came in a box with a bunch of bells and whistles and extra cool stuff, and I was sadly not able to get that one. One of the things I really liked in that one was he came with a cape that was like a wolf skin, and I thought that was really cool, with like a separate cowl piece that fit over the helmet. So it looked like he'd killed a wolf and was wearing its fur for warmth. So it's pretty brutal. But you know, this should have most of the stuff that we want from a Snow Serpent. Now, one thing I will point out is that a lot of these accessories are reused from Dusty, of all things. It's really weird to me that they chose the accessories from the G.I. Joe Desert Trooper to put with the Cobra Arctic Trooper, but we'll get to those in a second. Because of that, he doesn't really have the distinctive backpack and mortar that the original Snow Serpent came with, and that is slightly disappointing to me. But you know, there's kits online that I can buy to supplement that, things that I can 3D print. So I know Donman Art Collectibles has lots of cool Snow Serpent parts, so I could recreate that backpack and mortar if I so choose, and I may just do that. So he's got these snowshoes, and they're in this separate bubble, and they are in here like really deep. I'm having to actually like bend up the snowshoe to get it out, and thankfully it does seem to be like a somewhat pliable type of plastic, so it's, I think, mostly returned to form. So there's the snowshoes. We're gonna set those aside for now. I got to talk about the package a little bit. So there's the artwork on the side, and this does seem to be the kind of artwork where like they took a photograph of the figure and kind of photoshopped it to look like a painting, but it's not actually like fully a painting. You can see that they incorporated the joints in the knees into the pants as kind of a padding and some seams in the pants. And then it has a file card on the back in multiple languages. Cross-salt artwork with the eel. Still need to get the eel. Beachhead, which I've already reviewed on this channel, and the Snow Serpent himself. Let's go ahead and read the bio on the back. Snow Serpent, classified. It should probably say file name classified, but actually it really should say file name various, because this is a troop builder figure. Role, Polar Assault. Primary specialty, Arctic Operations. Secondary specialty, Infantry. I've mentioned before, I think it's odd they say primary, second, and secondary specialty instead of like primary and secondary military specialty, but these are military figures, folks. I don't know why we're hiding it. Snow Serpents are the Arctic specialist branch of the EELs, Cobra Combat Divers. They undergo a 6-month cold weather course somewhere above the Arctic Circle, training in airborne conditions, under Arctic conditions, anti-tank procedures, hence the mortar, and the use of snowshoes, skis, and kayaks. So they're pretty badass. I kind of suspect that the eels were at least somewhat based on the U.S. Navy's own Navy SEALs. Eel, seal, get it? So this is supposed to be like an eel that's even more badass than a regular eel. So keep that in mind. He does come with a figure stand. Every figure should come with a figure stand, and we can see it's the kind of standard Cobra figure stand that we've seen before with Cobra figures in the retro line. Only in this case, it's a white figure stand because he's an Arctic Trooper. Actually, it's kind of a slightly off-white color. It's if we compare it to the snowshoes, you can see that even on the camera, I think you can see that it's a slightly different shade of white. Just a hair darker. So let's go ahead and get some of these accessories out. And I'm going to take the pistols out because I had bad luck with the pistol on scrap iron yesterday, and I know those are tiny pieces. And these are a couple of little Glock-looking pistols. I think we've seen these before, so we'll set those aside. And got some goggles, molded in black rubbery plastic with some metallic blue paint over the lens. And then we have Dusty's rifle. And it's a pretty cool rifle, so I don't really mind its reuse here. But I do think, like I said, it's kind of funny that they reused accessories from an Arctic, or for a desert character on an Arctic character. Especially this backpack, which has the canteens on the side. I guess you still need water when you're up in the Arctic, but like I kind of like the reason I liked those canteens so much is, of course, he's got 2 canteens. He's a desert trooper. Well, you know. And then last but not least, the figure itself. And I know that the Snow Serpent was one of the more beloved of the Cobra army builders. I remember seeing him in a lot of kids' collection back then. He's just a cool looking figure. Like, you might be tempted to even send him on some non-Arctic adventures just because he looks so badass. But he would be kind of warm. He's got all this fur trim you can see around the shoulders and collar, and even on the gloves. Nice furry gloves. I always thought that was a really cool detail. He's got 2 blue holsters strapped around his thighs, blue snow boots, and they do look to have like a nice tread to them. I believe that this body was originally created for Snow Job, and I was never able to get Snow Job either, but hopefully one day. I think they're doing a retro card figure of Snow Job, so I should probably be able to get him. So it is a nice, thick, sturdy body, as one would expect of an Arctic trooper who's dressed for warmth. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. So the Snow Serpent can look up about that far, he can look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. The arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders, but they are going to be slightly encumbered by this fur piece at the shoulders. So you can see that they kind of go off to the side a little bit when you get all the way up to the top of the shoulder. That's to be expected. His arms can move up about that far. So pretty decent range of motion that way. He does have butterfly joints, so the arms shift back that far and forward about that far at the shoulder. These joints are really tight, by the way. He's got the bicep sole, so the bicep rotates all the way around. Lots of good details on the sculpt, lots of little pouches. He's got a little zipper that they painted in blue. They didn't have to paint in that zipper, but they did, so that's a nice touch. Double jointed elbows, which the one at the top part of the elbow seems pretty stiff, but I got it loosened up. That's about the range of motion we get at the elbow. It would probably be a little better, except for, again, the fur on the gloves. That kind of gets in the way. Of course, the wrists rotate all the way around, and he has a vertical hinge on his right wrist, and looks like a vertical hinge on his left wrist as well. So 2 vertical hinges. He does not have an ab crunch in the strictest sense. He's got this joint that's more like a 25th anniversary G.I. Joe figure, and it's fairly well hidden by this web gear. So like the original Snow Serpent that us 80s kids remember, he does have a parachute on the front of him. So I'm guessing if he falls off a cliff, that's like for base jumping, a way to save himself at the last minute. So that's a nice touch. And you can see that that is in the same dark blue color as the boots and the holsters on the sides of his thighs, and this little harness that's sculpted into his trunk piece. And this is a very sort of classic Cobra blue. It's the same blue that I remember the original figure having, and it matched up pretty well with the same blue that the original Cobra troopers and Cobra officers had. So even though he's an Arctic trooper who's mostly kind of a light gray color scheme with some white detailing to it, not quite as light as I remember, not quite as dark as I remember the gray being on the original one. I think this is a little bit lighter. So it would be nice if he had a little bit more as far as the accessories go to the original Snow Serpent, I think. But these are still pretty good accessories anyway, so I'm not going to complain too much. His waist piece is articulated very similar to how an 80s G.I. Joe figure is articulated with the O-ring, only this is not an O-ring, this is a ball and socket, but it does kind of replicate that movement somewhat, so that's nice. His legs can kick up about that far, really good range of motion there. He does have the kind of drop down hip articulation like a lot of these classified figures have, and that always helps with that. Does have a thigh cut, so the thigh rotates all the way around, so we can see. He does have double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees, so pretty good range of motion at the knees. Probably be a little better, like I said, if these legs weren't so bulky. He does have a boot cut, but it seems like it's really tight. And the reason that it's really tight is because it seems like the boot actually does go up into the pants leg a little bit. Like the pants leg is kind of bloused over the top of the boots. So, but he does have a boot cut. It's just like a little more stiff because it's kind of embedded up in there. So and then, of course, he's got ankles that point down about that far and point up about that far. They're really stiff. And then rotate all the way around because this is cool Hasbro rocker ankles. So that's nice. All right, so now that we've been over the articulation, let's go ahead and gear this guy up. So first of all, we got this backpack, and like I said, this is basically Dusty's backpack, and it's molded in the same off-white color. Actually, I think it's the same off-white color as the stand. So his stand matches the rest of his outfit. Should peg right in here to the back. That's pretty tight fit. Probably because this wasn't the backpack that was originally meant to go with this figure. So it's having a little bit of a hard time. It doesn't fit on there quite as well as I would like. I'm going to be honest. I mean, look at that. It's just kind of sticking. Probably because it's not meant to go on this back. It's meant to go on Dusty's back. But man, it's like there's actually like kind of little marks in the peg now where I've tried to fit it in here. I honestly feel like this peg is just too thick to really fit on there, so that's disappointing. So we're gonna set that aside. Let's have a look at these automatic pistols, and his hands are like somewhat rigid, like a throwback to some of the older ones. But thankfully, the trigger finger is flexible enough. I was able to get it into the trigger guard. And man, that pistol looks really tiny in his hand. He's such a bulky figure. It's like it's just so small. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can get that to go into these holsters. Hopefully that'll go in there well, and it seems to fit in there pretty snugly, so that's good. And he's got one on the other side. So let's go ahead and put that in there. There we go. All right. And like I said, I'm just not fooling with that backpack anymore because it just did not want to go in right. I'm gonna wind up going on to Donovan Art Collectibles and buying that Snow Serpent backpack set that he's got on there. That's what I'm gonna wind up doing, and 3D printing that. Unfortunately, that was a little before I actually subscribed to his Patreon. So that was not one I'm able to get for free. But since I'm subscribed to his Patreon, I can also get it for like half price. So if you guys 3D print stuff, I would highly, and you want to do like G.I. Joe classified customs, I would highly recommend checking out Donovan Art Collectibles on Patreon. His Patreon practically pays for itself. You get half off everything on his website, and you get plenty of stuff a month as part of his membership. And when you first join up, you get like a starter kit with lots of cool files to it. That's probably worth like the whole year right there. So this gun is not wanting to stay in his hand very well, and I think it's because I'm having a hard time getting those fingers to wrap around the handle at the same time as the thumb. And the reason why is because of the way Dusty's rifle is designed. It's got that ammo cartridge right there. So like really, I think that when I first was about to open this, I'm like, well, these are cool accessories. I don't really mind having these as far as like the accessories for the Snow Serpent goes. Like it's not the exact ones he had when I was a kid, but they're still nice. But even though they're nice accessories, they're not really very good accessories for the Snow Serpent because they're not really like fitting very well with how this figure is like physically put together. So I've given up on trying to get him into a two-handed position with this rifle. I'm gonna have to use some other rifle with this figure for display. And well, here's a Fortnite rifle, sniper rifle. Let's see how he looks with that. Yeah. Yeah, so thankfully there are lots of different options if you want to try to put some other kind of weapon into his hand. You can get something from Valiverse, Action Force, or something from Marauder does a lot of 6-inch weapons now, or something from one of those McFarlane weapon sets, or in this case, this is a Fortnite weapon, and I think he looks pretty good with that. So really they I think that there's other weapons they probably could have picked that would have worked pretty well for this guy, and that they just picked the wrong ones. I'm like probably like the AK that comes with the Cobra Officer probably would have been a good choice, or this sniper rifle that of course came with the action. I think it came with the Action Marine. Was it the Action Marine or the Action Pilot? It was one of those two. Anyway, I just happen to have that sitting there. He looks pretty cool holding that. This would have been a way better rifle. I think this one was out at the time too, because this one I think it came with Shooter, I think, originally. I don't remember. So I tried to gear him up and it just didn't work out that well. That's probably like the biggest fail that I've ever had in terms of like trying to gear up one of these G.I. Joe classified figures. Very disappointing. So I think they could have done a better job with the selection of accessories. Even if they just wanted to reuse accessories from another figure, which I can understand wanting to save a little bit of money on it. I get it. But maybe pick some figures that would actually like fit, some accessories that would actually fit on the figure. I don't think that's too much to ask. Anyway, at least the snowshoes should fit on the figure because those were actually designed to go on this figure, right? So I'm going to put the snowshoes on him, and the peg is a tight fit going into the heel of the figure. You can see that there's like this little section that the front toe fits into, and then this peg fits into the peg hole on the foot. So unfortunately, the figure stand is useless with this figure once you put the snowshoes on him, since there's no peg hole on the snowshoes. But hey, I guess I can use that figure stand for another figure that didn't come with one, right? So can't complain about that too much, I suppose. So yeah, the snowshoes are pretty cool. I like the snowshoes. And then last but not least, we have these goggles that, for those of us that remember the original Snow Serpent back in the 80s, he had the goggles over the top of his helmet. But it looks like on these, you actually can slip the goggles over the mask even. So now he can actually wear his goggles over his eyes. So that's pretty nice. This is a really good figure with some unfortunately lackluster accessories. While this is a good rifle and I like it with other characters, I'm finding it very difficult to pose him with it in his hand because of the bulk of the forearm sculpt hinders with the little ammo clip. In fact, you can see I've just got him kind of casually holding it by the foregrip. That's probably how he's going to be posed on my shelf. And in fact, I guess it's kind of foreshadowing that they don't even really have him holding the rifle properly on the package. If anybody noticed that. But he's a great looking figure with a great looking sculpt and really good paint details. I really like the color scheme of him. It is reminiscent of that original Snow Serpent, but like I said, I kind of feel like the gray that they used for most of the suit, it's really more of an off-white, and he is a lot more pale than I remember the original Snow Serpent being, but that's not a bad thing. He looks cool. I'm really happy with how this figure turned out. The body, this is the first time I've seen this particular body, and like I said, I'm pretty sure this is the same body that was used for Snow Job, which I don't have, but hopefully I'll be able to get a Snow Job one day because I like Snow Job. But you know, he's a pretty cool figure. I could see people wanting to troop build him, but if I were going to troop build him, I would definitely want to try to get him some different accessories. Probably I'm going to wind up 3D printing, like I said, that Donman Art Collectibles Snow Serpent kit, and giving him some different accessories. So, but that's just me. That's just my opinion. You might disagree. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. That's also it for the current crop of G.I. Joe classified figures that I have. I will have more soon, because there's always going to be more G.I. Joe classified. But next episode is going to be something different. And in fact, if I can find him around here anywhere, I will show you the next thing that I intend to open. I could have sworn I had it here. Ah, here it is. It's back behind me. Next episode, I'm going to go ahead and finally open up this Man-at-Arms figure that I've had forever. So, longtime viewers of this channel will remember that the very first action figure unboxing that I did on here was a Masters of the Universe Origins He-Man figure. In fact, it was, I have him right here, this Masters of the Universe Origins He-Man figure, the very first one they put out. So I was so excited to have a He-Man action figure, I decided to shoot a video talking about it, and that was how I got started unboxing action figures on YouTube. It's been a journey, hasn't it? But but yeah, I do still kind of consider this channel to be the channel that Masters of the Universe Origins built. So I'm always happy to hop back into that world for a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and finally open this one up. I've been sitting on this one for a minute. And then next week, I'm going to be back with probably some DC Multiverse. I know I've got a bunch of stuff in my pile of loot from Big Bad Toy Store. So that's stuff that I'm probably going to wind up having them ship me soon. I'm waiting for like a few more things to come in. They got like a figure that I wasn't expecting it to come in until January. So that kind of disturbs me because it was a figure that was in an assortment with like 4 other things, and I haven't been able to scrape up the money for the other 3 figures in that assortment yet. So I'm afraid they're going to show up early. And I've got other stuff I was already expecting to show up that hasn't shown up yet. So that's frustrating. Sometimes that's how the pre-order game goes. That's just how you're going to do with it. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the Snow Serpent. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. If not tomorrow, it'll be sometime next week. I'm going to open up that Man-at-Arms. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you like and subscribe. All the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Snow Serpent, both this figure and the character in general. Were you as disappointed with the selection of accessories as I was? Like, honestly, I went into it with a little bit of optimism because I do like these accessories. Generally, it's just they don't really fit this figure at all. Like not only is it weird that they picked a desert theme, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll give that a shot anyway. See how he looks with everything on him once it all fits together. But it never did fit together. I wasn't able to get him to hold the rifle properly, and the backpack wouldn't even go onto his back. What am I supposed to do with that? Honestly. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.